Hello and welcome to Arn. This is Paul Bromwell. We're in 2025 and we are back together again. I'm joined by the Hall of Famer, the founder of the Four Horsemen, the creator of that Spine Buster. He's the 1A Tag Team Wrestling. He's my tag team partner. He's the Enforcer. He's Double A. He's Arn Anderson. Arn, happy New Year, my friend. It's been a nice long break for us the last few weeks, but I've missed you, man. I'm ready to get back together again, back on it. How are you doing?
Are you sure you're not glad to have been rid of me for a couple weeks?
No, sir.
Are you positive?
Hey, listen, I did enjoy the downtime. I'm not going to lie. As far as I was off work, the shoot job, as they call it, for a couple weeks. And I was busy, kept hopping. But it was good. You know, I always like to have that end of the year break. You get to connect with family, get to unplug, unwind, maybe think a little bit about, the upcoming year, figure out a few goals. It's just good. It's just good to have that time. But there's also something about getting yourself back in the routine again, if you know what I mean.
Let's just say it is not lost on me that I have a job, although it's not considered a job, and this is as close to getting one as I'm going to get, Paul, just so you know. So this occupation that you and I have here, and our merchandise, which is people are being very vocal and happy about, which
Yes.
I'm proud of. This is as close to having a job as I'm going to get, because I've had one my entire adult life. I am saying that I'm glad that I'm not traveling this period of time, because if you watch the news, travel is not easy. A lot of snowstorms everywhere. I mean, everywhere through from the mid-Atlantic, if you want to go east to Detroit, or come from Detroit back through the, mid-Atlantic tonight, as well as every night this week in Charlotte, we're going to wake up in the 20s. That's unheard of. That is unheard of, in the 20s.
Are you getting any of that snow this weekend? I think earlier this week it was coming out of Kansas City, but area heading this way. There was potential for us up here in the Northeast, maybe get 8-9 inches. Are you hearing anything about that?
We never get snow. It comes down to that rim that cuts across about 60 miles north of here, which is Boone and Blowing Rock and some of those mountain towns that it's like we got 4 or 5 inches of snow come tonight, but it gets right to that rim where it's whatever it's called. They have a name for it, but it's before it gets to Charlotte, it just cuts off. So we don't ever get any snow. We don't normally get it this cold either.
It is cold here. As I look at bottom of my computer, 28 degrees and windy. We got a little bit of snow on Monday. Schools were closed, and they're calling for some this weekend. So we'll see what happens. So it's cold, brother. And like you said, you don't have to travel on the road as much anymore. And you deserve it, man. All those years up and down the highways and in the air, even if some of the Crockett years you were in a private plane. Listen, that is not that you deserve some time towards the back half of life to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, my man.
Well, I appreciate it, and I agree with you 100%.
I know you do.
I don't give 2 shits about being in an airport all night long, because the last flight out had a mechanical.
Oh God!
And we were okay. So it's 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, and you'll be leaving tomorrow at 5:50.
Does anything give instant anxiety, like we're dealing with a mechanical issue on the airplane? I mean, I know it does for me, but nobody wants to hear that, or let alone deal with it. Ugh.
I would suggest, and I'm going to be right more than wrong, if you hear that and you know that's the last flight out and they start that mechanical garbage, do not wait for updates. Do not wait for anything else. Don't wait for the company to find you a hotel, whichever airline they're flying on. Get off the plane, go down to baggage claim, tell them you have medicine that you have to get off of your bag, get your bag, and go to the nearest hotel at whatever cost. It does not matter. Pay it and go check in and avoid hours of just aggravation.
Ah, I like it. There you go. You're getting some fatherly advice from Arn Anderson.
You're going to write that off at the end of the year anyway. You get with your tax guy and go, look here, I'm writing this off. That's the way it is, because you will literally, if you were supposed to leave at 10:45 and they start that garbage about mechanicals, you're going to still be sitting there at 1 a.m. Trust me.
There it is, the medicine card. You guys know how to play it now. Buddy, I'm glad to see you. I know I said it to start the show, but I really am. You have not only been a great friend, but a source of encouragement, and it's just so good to finally connect with you. You and I were talking, and we're going to get together again the final Tuesday of January. So mark your calendars. By the way, like, subscribe, hit all the buttons here on YouTube. We're only a few hundred subscribers on from breaking 50,000. So if you guys can help us get there, this episode, the next episode, we'd really appreciate just breaking that 50,000 subscriber. Just sounds like a cool number, huh?
That's a round number. I like that.
Nice round number. So yeah, hit us up, take care of us there, show us some love, and we'd appreciate it. But Tuesday, January 28th, we'll be back together, 6 p.m. Eastern. Ask Arn anything, and it might not just be Arn. And we're going to work on that after the show. There's someone that we're going to contact and try to get on this show and really start out 2025 having a lot of fun. No, it's not Brock, although he'll be back at some point too. I know that's what some of you are thinking, but we're going to try to get someone that Arn's been very familiar with over the years back on the show. So don't want to say too much more than that. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't. But we're going to make a goal to do that at the end of the month. So join us on the 28th. This week, before we get into a few other announcements and things that we want to cover, we are going to talk about August 1995. Before we get there, a few things to talk about, Arn. First of all, college football. People already were hitting me up before the show started. It's down to the Final Four as we record now. You got Notre Dame and Penn State, and you got Texas and Ohio State that are going to face off. And who's your favorite out of the Final Four?
Well, you know, my favorite is they're not in the Final Four, damn it. Let me put it to you this way. We're sitting there watching, and I thought, which I vocalized, if Georgia would have won and advanced, and Texas would have won and advanced, I was going ahead and just stating the fact there's no way Georgia could beat Texas 3 times in one season. That just ain't happening. Well, Georgia got knocked out, and they got manhandled like they did several times. They didn't have their quarterback. They didn't run number 3, which I'm going to bitch about to the end of time. He came in for one series at tailback. I think he's a true freshman. Number 3, little short fire plug, runs north to south, and brother, he is hard to bring down. And I want to say on that drive, he averaged probably 10 yards a carry for that one drive. They took him out and never put him back in. So people that are really in the know, if you didn't notice that, you might want to question that. I'm not a college coach. You know, Kirby is much more qualified than me, but seemed like to me that was something that worked. Go with it till it doesn't. And it really jumped off the page that they didn't use him more. The quarterback we had didn't have much experience. And hey, they didn't have enough studs on the field that should have been in their starting lineup to win the game. And that's it. So long story short, I'm just going to go out on a limb. Even though Ohio State looks hard to handle right now, impossible to stop, their offense just looks impossible to stop. I'm going to go with Texas.
You're going to ride with Texas.
We'll go with Texas, man. They're beasts. They are beasts.
Okay. That's Arn's pick. So for you that asked me to ask him, I asked you. And by the way, if you want to ask more questions, perfect transition. Hit us up and use that super chat function. Arn was just saying, this is how he works now, right here on the podcast.
It's my job.
Yeah, but this is it. This is his job, and this is where he clocks in, clocks out, and he loves hearing from you. This is the virtual living room, but also it'd be so nice of you to contribute and help him as part of his retirement here, and take care of Aaron and Smokey. Speaking of Aaron and Smokey, January 31st weekend. January 31st is a big day in your household, and you're heading to Indianapolis for WrestleCon. But tell them why the 31st is a big day in your household.
It is my wife's birthday.
Yes.
And I don't nearly get enough opportunities I do my best. I know every single day I tell her I love her at least twice. But, I never get a chance to truly show her just how important she has been in my life and important she is to me and Brock and Smokey. And we're going to go in for WrestleCon. It's going to be in Indy, 2 days. Last year we were in Indy at a signing that did huge, one of the best ones we've ever been to. So I want to congratulate those guys and say thank you for having us back at WrestleCon in the city of Indy. And we're going to go somewhere really nice. I don't want to put it out there. I want to let it be a secret tour, but it's really, we've researched it.
Yeah, there you go.
Super nice place. And that's going to be the end of the month. That'll be the 30th, 31st, and 1st.
And so Aaron, will she hang out with you at the table there in Indy, or just kind of do her own thing?
She pops in and out.
Well, if you see her and you're in Indy, tell her happy birthday. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Fans.
Yeah, that would put a smile on her face. She knows how important the fans are to me, and how important they are to the success of the industry as a whole. And she, no one's benefited more from it than me. Maybe she's right up there with me. So, she's always smiling and happy to meet people, and see the families and the grandsons and the sons and the grandpas that show up 3 generations and say, hey, I used to watch with my grandfather and all this stuff. I mean, she's not lost on all those comments. She appreciates it every bit as much as I have. I've said this many, many times, but I am one of the few people that has got to get up on a daily basis and go to a job that I truly did not despise or hate or even have a negative feel about. And not many people can say that in their lives. So
that's for damn sure.
I'm blessed.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Speaking of blessed, you're blessed with a good son. Brock, I can't say enough good things about him. I've heard from him a few times lately. He's just a real solid young man, and he is getting busy. He's doing more things in the wrestling business. Him and CW on MLW in Dallas, January the 11th. That's going to be a big time appearance for them. Not only that, then they're going to head on down the road to Winston-Salem on the 25th of January, and it's Act of War Games, AML. I know you think a lot of that outfit, but him and CW are staying busy. They're crushing it and doing big things here in MLW and AML.
Yeah, and there's a lot of L's. So, but to be clear, on the 11th, it's MLW in Dallas.
That's right.
25th, AML in Winston.
That's right.
And those promoters have been great to us, and letting Brock pay his dues and learn this business. And he has been nothing but a businessman with them on reciprocally, if that's a word.
We'll make it one.
Let's make it one. So, I think both, to make the long story short, both companies, I feel like have done a great job and given him a chance, and I'm very appreciative. One of these days I'll return the favor.
There you go. I love it. So support Brock Anderson and check him out again, January 11th, MLW Dallas, and you can check them out on their YouTube page. And then he and CW are going to head back down to Winston-Salem for AML, Act of War Games. So big shows for him. I wanted to talk to you real quick because in current wrestling, Arn, big buzz the last few weeks. Actually, last night, last week, AEW, you can now simulcast and find content of theirs on Max. Last night, WWE debuts Raw on Netflix to not just the U.S., to the world, in an event that was just simply incredible. Man, the evolution of the wrestling business is just it's phenomenal to see on display now, and now into this new streaming world and the platform. I mean, what do you think about this as it continues to expand globally with both these brands?
Well, I hope TNA blows up.
Yep.
I hope New Japan blows up. I hope MLW and AML blow up. It's not just the two leaders, which happen to be WWE and right now AEW, and they're kind of leading the pack. But I want to see every single one of those companies do well, because let's face it, these young guys need to get as many reps as they can. That is the most critical and crucial part of the industry that's missing. And I don't believe it's a fix. I don't think they're ever going to go back to the companies that are running 4 days a week. I just don't see that happening. I see AEW possibly expanding just to doing more special live events where they load the cards up. But on a regular basis, I don't see that. But I am very proud to see that, the wrestling has ballooned up to what it, if you watched that show last night, which I did streaming.
Yeah.
And I didn't find that Netflix till a few years ago. I used to hear about it. Aaron would talk about it. Brock would talk about it. And I would okay, it's another HBO. And that's just the way I kind of blew it off. But man, there is so many people that there's a host of shows. It's like the one that's Yellowstone. The guy that came up and co-wrote that and co-produced that with Kevin Costner. Now he's got about 7 shows.
He's got a whole universe. Yeah.
He's got his own whole category that's just his stuff.
And it's all on platforms, Peacock and streaming, Paramount. Yeah, dude.
And you can see it. You can see his fingerprint on every one of the shows, even they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
But you can still see his just writing style and the way he brings the characters along and all that stuff. So I think it's going to be a situation where on on the pay channel, people
Netflix.
Netflix, they're not going to worry about, paying a little extra if they're getting content that they wouldn't normally get on regular TV, and that's going to be the issue.
It's incredible to think that pro wrestling is the first live episodic show that Netflix of any show they could do, the first live episodic show they're having on their platform is pro wrestling. How cool is that?
Be proud you're part of it too now, Paul. We all contribute. Every one of us contribute to the success of the business.
The video they did to open that show, where they went back and showed the forefathers and Triple H did the voiceover. It was over 3 minutes long. Cold chills. I don't know if you got to see it. I'll send it to you after, but just so good in mixing today's generation with the old stuff. They showed Flair getting out of the helicopter, some of the stuff that you remember from the 80s and Andre and Miss Elizabeth. I mean, just weaving the storytelling of pro wrestling to where it was today. No one does production and a video compilation like that. It was so good. And it's just so fun. You say being a part of this industry, it's so fun to be able to see the growth. And when you say growth, that means opportunity. Money and opportunity for the future generations behind you. And Arn, you are one of those foundational talents that help lay the brickwork, lay the foundation for today's generation and where it is. And so let me say thank you for all those airplane trips and bus trips and rides around the town as one of the bricklayers in building the foundation for where this business is today, because it's truly incredible. So really excited to see that.
Well, thank you for that. And if there's anybody out there that agrees with that, here's your chance to return the favor. Support Brock the way you supported me. And, there won't be a day that he gets up that he won't enjoy going to work. And that's all I can hope for him, because he's earned it too. The families of the wrestlers that have paved the way the last 40 years to get in this business, you know, in the condition it is in, to be able to make a move like this. You know, those families probably sacrificed at least as much and maybe even more than the talent themselves.
You said continue to support Brock and things of that nature. I want to give the fans one more chance right now to support you, buddy, because of collectmajor.com. Series 11. All right, the big rubber guys right now, and I'm going to show this, pop it on the screen. Look, everybody, look at the jacked up, look at those abs.
Those abs, they finally got the abs right.
They got the abs right. They got the hair right. They got that scowl. They got the red TV title, Arn. Come on.
Yeah, buddy. I'm excited about that too. Those guys have been great, you know. And
head over to collectmajor.com. It's series 11. You can get the whole series. And by the way, Tully is in the series with the national title. Missy Hyatt, Rick Martel. Arn, I got to admit, last night I got on the site. I ordered you and I ordered Tully, my two favorite. And they're going to ship, as you guys can see here, in June 2025, later this year here. It's been about 6 months, 5-6 months. But you got to order them before the end of this month. Pre-order ends the end of this month. Arn, I know you've been excited about this one for a little while. What do you think, man, being a part of Matt Cardona and team and their whole group and being a part of this series?
Well, better late than never. And I was never a guy, and I understood this early on. I was not a Lex Luger or a Hulk Hogan or a Sting or, you know, or Shawn Michaels or you name it. One of those body guys or good looking guys that you can push and push is, you know, you look at them and they look like a superhero. I was kind of like the 6th grade school teacher that just happened to knock one of the guys off of his Harley Davidson and got away with it type guys. You know what I'm saying? So to be getting it this late in life, you know, I don't know if it means as much.
You're getting action figures now. There's more to come too.
You know, and there's more than that on the way, guys. There's other companies, video games and stuff that's going to be popping up. So cool. Keep your eye out there for me. And, you know, like I said, better late than never.
Collect Major, all one word.com. Pre-order ends end of the month. Series 11. Arn with the red TV title. Tully with the national title. You can get Missy Hyatt. You can get Rick Martel. But to me, Arn and Tully with those individual titles, two of my favorite title belts growing up. Two of my favorite guys all around, the Brain Busters.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can get them now, and check it out, collectmajor.com. We're going to put that over strong until the end of the month. But so excited for you there, and you guys can do it. You're watching on YouTube. Open up another tab, and go ahead and take.
Don't forget the books too. The books are still out there, man.
How can I forget? I put my book up behind me. It's on the shelf, and I have you can't see it's blurred, but see that picture right there? There's you with two belts on your shoulder. And then I propped my comic book beside it. So they're right beside each other now on my shelf behind me. But yes, the comic book you need in hand. You'll have those in Indianapolis with you, right?
Yes, I will. Most definitely.
All right. Good stuff. All right, let's see. Is there anything else I need to show before we get going? Oh, yeah, just one more, and that's right here on the banner, 1tsport.com. It's not all spelled out anymore. We trimmed it down, cleaned it up, made sure we weren't ruffling anybody's feathers or, you know, the trademarks or One True Sport. 1tsport.com gets you this stuff right here. And Arn, I just got this. This is the white font Four Horsemen T-shirt design that we recently added to the store. And so I love it. It just came in. And so this is where you can get, it's the home of the Four Horsemen merchandise online. So make sure you grab all that merch over there. We got sweatshirts. We got a nice Columbia sweater vest with the Four Horsemen logo embroidered on it. And so we're really happy and proud with what we've got going on over there. So guys, check it out. Give us feedback. If you like some designs, want some new designs. It's funny. I got a question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to get to some questions. And one of them was about Horseman shirts over the years from Darth Payne. Happy New Year, guys. Of all the Four Horseman shirts over the years, and I have plenty, does Double A and Paul have a favorite? Keep up the great work. Weather is rough. Double A, it is right. It's hard in West Virginia. He's in West Virginia, Darth Payne. But man, good luck with staying warm there, buddy. But he wants to know if you have a favorite Horseman shirt.
The first one with the white horse that they put out.
Okay.
It's just a single one. I want to say that
It was a single white horse.
Yes. Just because it was it looked like it. It was like a unicorn, a white unicorn. It wasn't the 4 across. It was just a single muscular
horse.
I want to say that was put out by. That would have probably been WCW.
So I'm going to need someone to research it and send it to me. And if we can, maybe I'll have a designer replicate that for the store.
It looked awesome, man. Looked awesome.
All right. I love it. All right. Well, good stuff. Hey, I have a couple questions here. I also have to get into August. We're 25 minutes into the show. I'm going to go through this August notes like I'm an auctioneer just to make sure I get it all in, but that's okay. We can easily touch on.
Let me warm you up. Hey, what are you going to be able to home?
Yeah. Micro Machines, you sold separately from Galoob. You remember the Micro Machines commercial? When I was a kid growing up, that guy, I think they hired a former auctioneer. But let's go through the questions. The people here are most important. Daisy Mama says, Happy New Year, Arn and Paul. Glad you're back. What's your opinion of Raw being on Netflix and AEW being on Max? Daisy Mama, we talked about it and answered your question. She says, West Virginia is in a bad vortex. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear West Virginia is getting hammered, it sounds like, right now with bad weather, Arn.
God, I hate to hear that. A lot of good folks up in West Virginia. I hope it's not too late. Just get a bunch of canned chicken, or if tuna's your thing, and a bunch of bottled water, folks, and just stay indoors. Don't go out. Yeah. Make your one run you have to make to get you those supplies, and you'll be surprised how good a canned chicken and a bottle of water is.
Maybe even if you get canned chicken, get you a bottle of Frank's Red Hot sauce to go with it.
Now, see, that's a drinking man threw that out there. See, could possibly even be a drunk. You don't have to put anything on it. A little pepper, maybe a little mayo.
Definitely no cheese.
Hot sauce, Jesus. See, you tip your hand.
I love a little hot sauce on my chicken. Come on now, it's like buffalo chicken.
All right.
She says, my birthday is 2 weeks from today. I'll be 43. So she's 43 on the 21st. We can't do a show on the 21st. I got a awards work thing going on. That's why we're bumping it to the 28th. But we'll say right now, happy birthday, Daisy Mama.
Happy birthday.
She said, would love to see wrestling come to Morgantown. Stardog Production says, hello, Arn and Paul. Great to catch you guys live. It's great to have you here with us. Mark Webster, let's throw it on the screen. He's a super chat. TV title match. You got to pick one. You versus the Yeti or against Elegante.
Yeti.
He'll take the Yeti all day, is what he's saying, Mark.
I'd have knocked about a little over half that toilet paper off his ass, I believe. He had about 400 rolls wrapped around
one spine buster. Just blow the toilet paper right off of him. And then our buddy Tim Angstom's here with us. Was the spine buster, which we're going to talk about here in a second, on Vader, a planned spot? So did he know that was coming?
He called it.
Boom.
I would have never suggested spine bustering him, just out of respect. Wow. That's one of those things that it would have never popped in my mind. I knew what my job was for that match, to go in and take the beating, take all the beating if possible, and then move our story, Rick and our story, that he's just not carrying his weight, which is to say about Ric Flair is pretty stout, but that's a story we're telling.
Well, guys, there you go. Let's jump into August 95. And if you have questions, easiest way is to contribute to the show, which we would appreciate so much, and use that super chat function. I'll make sure I do everything I can to get them all in this before the end of the show. But if you remember, last time we were all together, we talked July 95, and that's where we were discussing all things that were going on at the beach. Arn, you remember that bash at the beach? Yep. Hogan and Vader inside that cage match that people still talk about. Vader at the end mixes it up with you and Flair, and that's going to lead to Vader challenging you and Flair to a fight which we're going to cover now. That's all at the Clash of Champions in August. And Arn, like the good host should, I went back and watched that Clash of Champions. And let me just tell you, when you're used to watching current wrestling, a lot of good current wrestling, might I say, some of these old Clash of the Champions, especially this one, it was a little painful. Okay, not all of it, but some of it was a little painful. I'm just going to put it out there. But you got to do your homework and you got to be prepared. And and so I did that. And Vader wants to fight you and Rick. And I got to ask, are you thinking that what the hell did I just get myself into? I mean, Vader doesn't hold back at all when he gets in the ring with people.
Even 2-on-1, Rick and I fighting Vader, we were outmanned, we were outgunned.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what the hell? I mean, every superstar from Hogan to Sting to you name it, to whoever they were, they walked into a match as the underdog with that guy. And let's just face it, the two of us were underdogs against the one guy, and I knew that. But in our business, you do a lot of things where you're outmanned and outgunned, and a lot of nights you walk in the ring, and I would suggest that a lot of guys on a lot of nights walk in the ring knowing they got no way in hell I'm going to win this.
It's interesting too, because this is obviously WCW's attempt to turn Vader babyface, which I don't know. I'm looking for you guys in the comments. Vader babyface, yay, nay. Personally, Arn, I'm out on a Vader babyface run. There's just nothing babyface.
I'll tell you why it don't work. You didn't have enough heels with enough heat to okay, who's his opponent now?
Well, now it's you and Rick. But eventually they're going to try to then move him in with the Hogan and group against the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, Vader was a separate entity. He should have stayed a separate entity, and he's a one-man killing machine. That's where his value was. The problem is, like I said, if you switch him babyface, what heel do you think that's on that roster is going to beat him?
Nobody's strong enough at that point.
So you just wasted a turn. Now him in a pissed off mood with Harley Race walking him to the ring. Now I got something.
Yeah.
He on that side of the ball could have beat anybody on any given night for sure.
In hindsight's 2020, we know, and we're going to talk about this. This is a big month when we talk about August, because not only you two are going to face Vader here, which we're going to talk a little bit about, and you do a lot of the grunt work. You take those soup can style hands right upside the head, and Flair kind of hangs out on the match for the bulk of it. But you have that going on. He's thinking about becoming a face and maybe teaming with Hogan and team. They're promoting Nitro, which we'll cover a little bit more here soon. Nitro starts next month. So this is a big deal. We're going to talk about this too. Vader and Paul Orndorff have that fight behind the scenes that you're right there for. And you have, I know, a few things you're going to add some color to about that fight. Orndorff's in flip-flops. And pretty soon Vader's out the door. Okay. He's going to head to the WWF. So a lot going on around this time period, but let's start with Clash of the Champions. That's the big event for August. And the match that I want to highlight here, we're not going to cover every single match, but it's the first one, and it's Sting and it's Hawk. And if you guys remember last month when we talked about it, Sting was facing Ming, Sting versus Ming. And in that match, Hawk kind of came out at the end, provide a little bit of assistance after the match was over so that Sting wouldn't continue to get beat up by Ming. He was kind of like the tough guy that kind of stood out there and helped after the match. Well, they turned this into a tag team match. And it's Hawk and Sting against Ming and Kurosawa. And I want to set the stage a little bit for kind of what's going on here with Hawk. Because, and Arn, talk to you a little bit about this. Hawk and Animal, legendary Legion of Doom, they've been split up for a while now, and it started at SummerSlam 92 in the WWF, where it gets messy. Hawk showed up to the event. For those that remember, no shape to perform. Vince moved them to the opening match, and after that, Hawk left. He goes to Japan. It's a big deal, though. Breaking up a team arm like LOD, it's kind of hard to recapture the magic after something like that happens, isn't it?
Can't fix that. There are certain things in in this industry that once you split them up, there's no fixing it. And by the time you realized it was such a wrong thing to do, you can't fix it. And that seeing Hawk and Animal in any other situation than in a tag match as partners just don't work.
And that was the case here. You got Hawk. He's now doing his own thing in WCW during this time. Animal's recovering from an injury later. He's working in Japan, Arn. And then from an interview with Chris Featherstone, Animal talked about that 4-year stretch and how the fans hated the Hellraisers gimmick that he had with Sasaki over in Japan. And it just seemed like everyone wanted the Road Warriors to be back. But WCW decides, we're just going to bring Hawk back without Animal. Do you think that's a mistake?
Huge.
Yeah.
You know right away there was just something.
It's not the same.
Hey, it's like having a gravy bowl sitting there with all kind of big lumps of nice chicken or turkey or something cut up in it, and mushrooms, and all the stuff that goes in a gravy bowl. And you crack open a biscuit, and instead of tilting that gravy bowl up, covering them biscuits up, you just let the biscuit sit there.
We are so ridiculous. I'm sitting here thinking it's like not having peanut butter, and jelly together. You're sitting here talking gravy bowl and biscuits. And I'm like, what is our problem, Arn? Do we have an obesity issue? Like, what do we just talked about chicken and hot sauce, and now here we are at a gravy bowl.
Food is one of life's greatest pleasures. And there are some things that just go together. And there are some things that if you tease, they're going to go together, and then they don't. That biscuit went from being steaming and steam coming off of it, and you picture in that gravy bowl with those giblets going on top. Now it just looks like a dry ass old piece of bread laying there. That's how our mind works.
It is.
Hawk without Animal, or vice versa. Animal without Hawk. I hate to say it, but it's just two big cat head biscuits cracked open, laying side by side without the gravy.
I've never thought I'd heard that analogy. Oh, it's awesome.
That's the way I see it.
There you go. You got dried biscuit and Hawk, and man, he was a dried biscuit in this match. Let me just tell you, this was not good. But let's talk about the Clash match. Hawk looked completely lost in the ring. Sting literally yelled out a spot towards the end. Clothesline, Hawk. You hear it on your TV speakers. And so then Hawk delivers a weak clothesline. He kind of holds Kurosawa in the corner for a while until they figure out to go home. And then he does a version of the Doomsday device where he kind of falls off the corner and clothesline. Buddy, you've been in plenty of situations like this probably. When things start to unravel, what's the best way to recover? And
go home.
Just get it over with.
Go home now.
Would you ever yell out clothesline so that the TV can hear that? Like, it was that loud.
I would think I would cover the distance between us and get in his ear, whether it was like I was biting his ear or something a little more professional, and give him the spot right there.
Yeah, it was something. I want you guys, that's your homework. Go back and watch the match. Just study and watch Hawk and see if I'm missing something. I want you to watch that opening match. He just feels clunky. He feels lost. And I think that's what got me started. Andrew Hermes, who does the research for the show, both of us were talking about it. And it was like, man, he was really lost in the show. But then you go back and you're like, well, what was going on during this period? And so we wanted to make sure to provide the backstory. But to your point, he was just a dry biscuit waiting for the gravy.
Let me offer this. You just named the four guys. Kurosawa is not going to be a ring general that knows how to fix that. Hawk's not going to be a ring general, knows how to fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who else was in there?
Ming and Sting. Ming, Sting, Kurosawa.
Ming is just in kill mode. He's not going to be in a situation to fix that. They didn't have a ring general in there to go, hey, this is going south. Here's what we got to do. Let me cover this distance. I'll have Hawk just take my head off and we're done. You didn't have that guy in the match. You know, and that's how important it is. You know, in our business, you know, we've let the cat out of the bag. You know, heels are very critical, and top heels. Most of what you see in those days going on in a match was the work of some top heel leading it, or two top heels, the Midnight Express, for example, or the Four Horsemen, for example. They're
Good point.
leading the guys, and they're by the hand, and they're taking them through every step of what they're doing, just because that's the way it was done in those days. And you didn't have that guy or
You
those
did.
guys in that match. So as you're watching it, bear that in mind.
Yeah, think about that's a good point too. Who is the ring general? And to your point, that's not happening in that ring. So well said. We'll keep moving again too, and I'll say this, and we'll move on. We also know Hawk was having some issues here. There was a reason he was let go from WWF, and him and Animal had some problems. We've all heard kind of the story there with the drug issues and things like that. So there were some things that were happening with him, and that he would battle his demons there for a while. But yeah, Hawk, again, to put a bow on this, and Animal, just once they split up, it just really was never the same for those guys in terms of that WCW run, for sure. For Hawk, just did not feel like the Road Warrior that we had come to know and love at that point. Let's talk a little bit about the Dungeon of Doom, because Arn, this is also the Giants' debut, and at this point, they're really still pitching us hard on him being Andre the Giant's son. Do you think fans really bought into that he was Andre's son?
I don't know why they felt they needed it.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because the Giant, here's the deal. The Giant was a giant. He had a huge head. His ass was 5 feet wide across. His teeth would look like a dinosaur teeth. Paul White was just a 7 foot tall, symmetrical, strong as hell in the weight room, gangster. First time I saw him, he walked in, and we've talked about this before. He walked in our locker room, and because he didn't know what else to do, but came across as intimidating as anything I've ever seen. The guy Jimmy that brought him to meet all the WCW guys in Chicago came in the door, and Paul shut the door and just leaned up against it, just like a guy that's telling you, you guys aren't leaving the room, by the way, until my boss is through with his conversation. That's what came across without him even know he did it. And I looked at Orndorff and I went, "You seeing this?" He said, "Yep, got it." We didn't know. I mean, this is a gangster town.
Sure.
This guy was 7 feet tall, 7'1", probably 450 pounds, but symmetrical, like weightlifter size. Long dark hair, beard. I mean, it was like, Jesus Christ, who in the hell is that? Nobody like that was in the business at the time. He wasn't a giant. He was just two men put in one body.
I'll never forget to this day his hands. Why? Well, I got to meet him around 97, and he took a picture with me and my brother. He's in the middle of us, and his hand's on my brother's arm, and it looks like a catcher's mitt.
Yes.
I mean, it's yeah.
Yes.
The fingers the size of kielbasa. I mean, it's unbelievable. But
fingers were like this. To your point, to his hand.
I'm not worst. Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but here's also the thing you got going on. So you had Hogan battling Flair. You got Hogan battling Vader. Like, all right, cool. He's getting some good work in with some guys that are, some real competitors. Now, here we go to the goofy stuff. The Dungeon of Doom, the peak WCW cartoon madness, if you will. You would think he would just say, "Hey, Bischoff, look, no goofy stuff." I don't know. I'm just the Dungeon of Doom.
Who would have said that?
You would think Hulk would have maybe said something to Bischoff. Hey, bud, because this is a dramatic shift if you think about it. When you talk about guys like Vader, like Flair, and then you go to, "Hey, we're going to the back," and you're in a cavern and there's smoke, and here comes, Shark and Zodiac, or what, it just feels like we're going cartoon. I don't know. It's a very different shift. It's a different product. It feels very different.
Well, they were trying, what they'll never understand, if you go back and look at the WWF at the beginning of time, when they started collecting all the top guys, he was still adding characters to those top guys. Vince was.
Yeah.
Each guy had a character. Each guy had a character. It didn't matter how great your body was, any of that. He's still going to give you a character. So anybody trying to emulate their success, which would have been WCW, would have naturally thought, okay, we've got to, it's working for him. It's got to work for us. We got to create characters.
Yeah.
Problem is, we weren't qualified, to be honest with you.
And if they were paying attention, they would have saw how the ratings were declining because of TL Hopper and because of all those gimmick style wrestlers and Duke the Dumpster Drozy and, you know, the characters that were trying to be created in WWF. That's always now known as like the lull or the low period of WWF.
Put a pair of black chaps, not assless chaps, before somebody in there starts. Put on some black leather chaps, and that's all. That's all he needs for costuming. That's it. That's all you would need to put on that guy, and walk him out the door, and just let everybody look at how big he is.
Speaking of black leather, perfect transition, because you and Rick are going to take on Vader in a handicap match. You make your way down to the ring. No, don't worry, not an assless chaps or chaps at all, but you're rocking the black leather vest. Do you like that look? Did you wearing the black leather cowboy vest? It was cool.
No.
I liked it.
Well, it was left over. You know, it was left over from
what?
Being with Colonel Parker.
Okay.
And they wanted, you know, that was one of those deals that prior to this, it was one of those things. Well, Arn, you've been here a long time. You're a great worker. We're glad to have you, but we need to switch up your look.
Yeah, so, no bomber jacket. It's the black leather vest.
So if you go back a couple of months when I was with Bunkhouse Bunk, Terry Funk, they were a cowboy gimmick. Colonel Parker, obviously. So my version was just to throw on a black leather vest. And that was I wasn't going to get too crazy about it, too wild about it, but that was left over from that.
It was cool. I liked it.
I didn't particularly like it, but
did you? Okay. That's what I was wondering if you liked that or no.
Well, it was trying to make me something I wasn't. And at that point in time, I don't think the audience would have said, hey, you think Arn Anderson needs a black leather vest? Is it time for something like that? Think you need some more new costuming, new gear? What's the deal?
Well, eventually the black leather vest meant a lot to the character of Stone Cold Steve Austin. So you never know.
Yeah, it's application, it's timing.
Yeah.
It's reasoning, between it.
And he was a Texas boy too, but get away with that look. But yeah, I thought it looked cool. And it was almost an involvement of who you were as a character, right? The bomber jacket was kind of gone. And here we are in mid-90s. You kept hold of that black leather vest. It's just something I noticed, and I kind of liked it. I like the move.
Okay, well then we'll go with it. If nobody's feelings were hurt.
Hey, what do you guys think? Let me see what you think. I know we got a couple super chats. I promise Crossroads, Stardog, and Mark, I'm going to get to you.
Put a pause in it and see what they think real quick.
Yeah, I want to hear what you guys think about the black leather vest. Arn in that match, the big payoff from Bash at the Beach. Here it is, you and Rick taking on Vader, and freaking you worked almost the entirety of this match. And from the outside, it seemed like Flair wasn't too eager to get involved. What was the story being told here? You're basically just the muscle and he's the brains, and he sits outside and just watch you get your ass beat. But this is also when you did the spine buster. So
yes, well, that's pretty much it. It's like the story was, I was tired of him not holding his end up. He's not being Ric Flair. He's not the world champion. I'm doing all
get into it at the end. Yeah,
I'm doing all the work. He's doing all the wooing, and I'm doing all the fighting.
Which is about normal for the run.
Which was. But that was the focus of what we were doing at that point. And I would have never spine busted Vader on my own. I didn't want to disrespect his size or what that represented. We're in the match and he called it. And I went, so cool. Are you sure?
Yeah, right.
He said, do it. So I did it. And it was
One of the most iconic, buddy.
Well, it's second in line, maybe only to The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And that was just because of the circumstances and it being Mania and all the other stuff that went with it. But it was, he was 450 pounds, every bit of it.
I love that he called it. I think
he called it.
Yeah.
You know, and he, you know, later on he said, yeah, he said, I knew I had to kick out of it and I didn't think you would mind that. I said, are you kidding me? The magic was that I could get you up. If you would have been 200 pounds and wanting to kick out of it, I wouldn't have done it.
The beauty of Vader, too, though, was always his athleticism. Yep. So, you know, being able to do a move like that to a man his size, it don't look good unless you can be that athlete and take that move.
Well, and we both shared in the residual kudos from doing it.
Yeah.
It was a miracle that I could get a guy that big up, and it was a miracle that a guy was willing to try. And he did more than try. It was as smooth as anyone I ever did, I guess.
It's funny. I just, I'm seeing some people put in some comments about the vest. Prefer Arn coming to the ring with the horseman jacket. I was a fan of the vest. It was an evolution of the character. Since you were back with Flair, maybe bringing back the bomber jacket would have been the right move. Horseman merch all the way. I love it. People were just commenting. Ryan said he met Paul White outside of a convenience store, and he can attest that when he shook his hand just disappeared in it. So love all that good stuff. But good stuff, guys. All right. And so then we mentioned it. You fall out. Flair turns on you. You two are getting a little bit physical with each other. You grab them by the hair and pull them back in the ring between the ropes. And it's a little bit of a fiery turning point here as you two as partners. You remember who pitched that whole idea, you two splitting up? You know, just, hey, it's time for us to kind of do our own thing now again.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a while. I mean, it's a long time. Hey, 95 and we're in 2025, buddy. It's totally okay if you don't remember something like that. It's a long time ago, but here we are. We're at another moment in time where they want to break up you and Flair again. So that was what we got. Let's move on because we're at 52 minutes and we're still having fun. The debut of Monday Night Nitro is going to be on September 4th. So in February, guys, for our show, when we cover Arn's career, we're going to talk about that. But this is a huge shift. This is a huge moment in time for WCW. The evolution, the build, and the creation of Monday Nitro. It's going to be the flagship show. No longer WCW Saturday Night is that flagship show, Arn. Do you remember any chatter or talk about moving to primetime TV? Not just moving to primetime TV. You're going to go up against Monday Night Raw. And Ted Turner gave the keys to Eric, gave him the green light, gave him that slot. This is a bold move. Do you remember any of this, the conversation, the buzz, what was going on around this time period?
Scared me to death because I knew you're going to split your audience. You know, I didn't know how many people were going. I wasn't familiar enough with the way things work. If some guy's sitting there with a flicker and he's going, okay, break, okay, click to the other show. Hey, break, back to the other show. And how much of that would actually play into what your rating was going to be? I didn't have a working knowledge of that.
Yeah.
And it just scared me. I knew that, man, I think this is going to hurt our rating. We were starting to build a little something, even, you know, and the thing is, Saturday night on TBS was established for years and decades. And people are, you know, they're just, unless you started hammering that fact that we're now going to be Saturday night, 6:05 is not happening. Monday, whatever time it was, what was it, 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
8 to 9 started off, then it went 8 to 10, then it went 8 to 11.
Yeah, eventually it'd go 3 hours.
Progressed. You know, people are creatures of habit, and they're going to just automatically, you know, go to Saturday and there's nothing on, and they go, well, golf, or why is golf on, or why is basketball on, or what do you mean this putt championship? Where's wrestling? Because people just don't pay that close. They don't pay that close attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you click over and you just happen to be skipping channels on 8 o'clock. That's a pretty big gap. 8 o'clock Monday.
As a fan, the beauty of the head-to-head was knowing that both companies had to go for it every week, meaning we were probably in store for some of the best TV wrestling we were going to see every single week because you knew you were up against it.
Did you
That-
know that week one, or did it take you a month to realize,
no,
hey, this is going to be cool?
No, you just knew for them. I knew at that point back in 95. So 95 September, this was like 2 weeks before my 18th or 19th birthday. So peak age for this type of stuff to be watching this. And it was just like, wow, this is cool. Big moves are being made. They're challenging WWF. Like, this is going to be something cool. And then you watch the first episode and Luger comes out at the end. That's when you knew, like, this is going to be.
So you had just been on the other show, right?
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into it. We'll talk plenty of Nitro, the kickoff next month when we get into September. One of the wildest backstage stories from August 1995. It's legendary now. One of the wildest stories. The fight, Vader, Paul Orndorff. It's become legendary. You were there. What do you remember about how it all went down?
Yeah, I was. Now, keep in mind, Paul Orndorff was a guy that had a rep for being, from the point he was in high school in Tampa to college in Tampa. I think he might have played a tour in pro football. You know, he was a tough son of a bitch, and he was one of those guys like Dick Slater. There was just some guys that you just didn't mess with. And he had been given a split job duties when he signed his new contract, was be a part-time agent and be a part-time talent. And we were at TV at Center Stage, and somewhere was Vader in the building. He was supposed to be doing a photo shoot or something they needed shot to be put in the show. Vader had been given the time and all that stuff, but as you know, I think they might have been over it even at CNN studios, and he wasn't at TV, and he was always walk around looking for him. That's the way it went down, right? Nobody could find him. Well, when he finally came in, he hadn't ate. He hadn't, he was probably flustered because they did too many takes of the shit that could have taken 1 or 2 takes. But he finally walked in, put his stuff down in the locker room, and Vader went, "Jesus Christ, Paul, or Leon, where the fuck you been?" "I was over shooting something at CNN." Yeah, sure you were. "Bullshit, get your ass dressed. They got to have you out here." And then, man, doors are in 45 minutes. Let's just say 45 minutes. "Get your shit on." And he was pretty gruff about the way he said it. And he walked out. Leon looked around, and he could tell guys were kind of looking at him like, "You going to put up with that shit?" Without saying it. And the idea was, Paul was an office guy. He was just doing his job for those that knew, but too many young guys, the look was, "Are you going to put up with that shit?" So he came back in. He said, "Leon," and he saw that Leon hadn't advanced in getting dressed. And he said, "Hey, man, let's go. Get your fat ass up and let's go. They've been waiting on you." And when he walked out, Leon jumped up and he walked out. And I heard him screaming, "Hey, man, you don't talk to me that way." This is Leon to Paul. Paul stopped, turned around. "Hey, I've been trying to find you. My job ain't to run you down in this building, for however many hours," and whatever the deal was. Paul walked right up on him, and in that backstage area, excuse me, sorry about that. It was like a lean-to. It was all metal, and Leon just walked up on Paul. Paul was kind of where his back was, in the back of the lean-to of metal, and he just like took his palm and just kaboom, waffled him and dropped him. Now, here is one of those what ifs, and as you know me, I'm a big fan of what ifs. Had Leon had followed up, that would have been over right then and right there. But he just cut a promo on him and backed off and turned and started to leave. When he did, Paul, I got in kind of between them, so nothing else happened. I don't think I could have stopped it, but I just felt a wind come across the top of my shoulder. And as Leon turned, he saw something was going on, and Paul just went boom. Right on the chin. He dropped on his knees, right on his belly. Now, Orndorff had on flip-flops.
Yes.
Had he had on cowboy boots, Leon would have been dead man, because he stomped a mud hole in Leon. He was kicking him with bare feet with flip-flops. Boom, 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 5, 6, 7 times. And just we finally got him off, and Paul just went on down the hall and went into a little office that we had for the producers and agents and stuff to get organized in there. And he went in and shut the door. Leon came in that door, and his head had blown up. I mean, his eyes were shut, his nose was busted, his mouth was busted. And here he came again. He grabbed Orndorff, jammed him up against the wall. Paul is still throwing. Had Ming not been there to come in and separate, he literally, Ming by himself separated it. And we got Leon out of there, and Paul stayed in that one room. Paul allowed it to be separated. They got him out of there. They got him, somebody drove him back to his hotel, and man, as he was walking out the door, I saw his face. It was brutal. Took him back to the hotel. They sorted through what happened, figured out Paul was doing his job. He might not have did it in the right way, a little gruff, little, bullying. The irony of it was earlier that day, Leon had signed a 600,000 times 2 contract, which he got fired that night. They sent word over to him, you just going home tomorrow. Don't worry about coming in and signing that contract. It's been voided. Whew. Yeah, buddy. Whew.
Yeah.
That's two. Neither one of those guys what I wanted to been locked in a room with. And it was one of the most physical, brutal things I've ever witnessed.
Vader claims because the fight wasn't why he was fired, but rather he refused to take a 6-month suspension and fine. Did you ever hear about anything about him being given a 6-month?
That could have been.
Okay.
That could have been. I just know that they signed a huge contract.
And it was over.
And it went away. I don't know what the specifics were. It just never materialized.
Yeah, some say the violence of the incident and how quickly the news spread left WCW no choice but to act. Do you think, Arn, in your mind, was this an Eric decision, a corporate decision, or just, who do you think made the call? Just Eric?
I think Eric. I think he probably got a call from someone above him, and he didn't hesitate to act.
Yeah. Especially when you talk about Paul Orndorff being an office guy now, part-time, and being struck first.
He was a producer.
Yeah.
Who got struck, who was doing his duties.
Yeah.
Was seen trying to do his duties a couple of times. See, the story never reverted back to, well, Leon, it wasn't his fault really either, because he wasn't even in the building. He was over at CNN shooting this deal. There was a mass lack of communication.
My goodness.
And then the fact that Leon struck him first, and the fact that he came back after him a second time.
After Paul walked away into the room.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Technically, some lawyer would have went, hey, who was the aggressor? From what I'm hearing, Vader was the aggressor.
Yeah, he started it.
So that's how you base your decision on what you're going to do. Well, okay, that's it. It was pretty frightening to be right there in the middle of it, buddy.
My goodness, Arn, I know that's something for you. You've got to be like, this is a highly anxious situation. You know, you talk about wrestling and all that. This is outside of all that. This isn't business. This is a real deal where somebody's fighting someone else, and it's
two overqualified badasses
yes.
that one may die if we don't step in here and stop it.
Oh my goodness!
I ain't no tough guy, Paul. I can't.
No way.
Know, I am not Ming. I couldn't have stepped in and stopped it. I could have helped and assisted 5 other guys possibly stopping it.
Just hold, if anything, hold on. For
anything. Yeah. You know, and they were both friends of mine. That's what made it even worse.
Yeah.
So it was legendary, and I sat there and I was 3 feet from the whole thing. It just could have been worse. And in this situation, I know that's become a cliche deal that no matter that one deal fits all, it could have been worse. Well, this one, like I said, if Paul would have had on cowboy boots, he would have stomped the man to death.
Because in that moment too, and we've all probably been there at least once in our life, where you lose your temper or something happens where you go absent mind, you see red, and sometimes you just don't have that off switch when you need it. And you talk about, you said if he would have been wearing cowboy boots, and you know, you just don't.
Which most of us did into the building in our street clothes. Most of us wore cowboy boots. It's one of those things, and you got to enter this area too. We come from an environment where it's a fighting business, and most of the people are pretty damn tough and pretty salty. And when you've got 2 guys with reputations like that, their reputation's on the line. Forget about winning or losing that particular fight. When this thing's over and said and done, okay, who won that one? Jesus Christ.
That's going to make its way around the rest of the locker room.
It could cost you a career. If you lost and you started it and you lost badly, you might not be able to walk in that locker room again.
Yeah, good point. Wow, Arn, thank you for sharing that. Some of you may have wondered, why is this episode titled Chaos Unleashed? You just got why we titled this one, because that was utter chaos.
That was chaotic.
All right. Hey, let's go and answer the super chat questions because we have a few, and I want to get those in. Arn, these folks have given, and we're going to give back to them. Crossroads Explorer. Hey, guys. Arn, have you heard Greg Valentine ever being considered to be a horseman?
I've heard those rumors, but it wouldn't have been while I was there. Maybe after we left. When Tully and I left initially, when they put Kendall Windham in that spot with Barry, I think temporarily. Maybe it was during that time frame. Not sure. I've heard of it, but I wasn't privy to that conversation on what do you think?
All right, Crossroads Explorer, thank you very much. Next up, Arn, this is a big one, and I just want to say thank you so much. $50 super chat from Stardog Productions. Yes, thank you so much. Arn, just saying thank you for a lifetime of great memories. We were the suit-wearing students back in the day. And I'll never forget you, mid-match, putting us over in the front row at the Dorton Arena. We were booed and loved it. And thanks to Paul. Man, how cool is that?
That's awesome. That's why we lived our life back then, buddy. Being heels, we wanted to be just, despised. And we were pretty much. But you guys, you were pretty despised too. I remember you very, very clearly. We would walk over, probably roll out of the ring, go right over to you. That's what Horseman fans wear, you pigs, or some shit like that. It was awesome. Really was. I'll never forget you guys either, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that's huge. Thank you so much, buddy. We hope you enjoyed this evening's show. We got Mark Webster back. 2 more. Mark Webster, he says, you were there. Why was the Yeti a mummy? Who came up with the mummy gimmick for this guy?
Because somebody ran out of ideas and thought that would be actually scary. Just because he was 7 feet tall, too.
Yeah.
That guy was 7 feet tall.
Ron Reese was that? That's who he was. Ron Reese was the mummy.
Ron Reese. Here we got 2 7 feet plus athletes, and we can't figure out what to do with either one of them.
Yeah, let's
Instead,
wrap one in toilet paper. Yeah.
yeah. So what do? We go out and get an 8-foot tall Elegante, and he's the bigger stiff than either one of those guys.
Final super chat of the week. David Van Boglen. He's our man, our social media guy at One True Sport. Happiest of New Year's, Arn and Paul. I wish you guys the most happy and healthy 2025.
Prayers to all you guys out there that listen, ladies, guys, everybody. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. So just be safe and be careful, and bring in the new year with, do something nice for somebody. How about a stranger? How about a stranger?
I love it. That's a good 2025 goal. Do something nice for somebody this year. And if you can, more than once, and see what kind of year you end up having. That'd be cool. We got one more just slid right on in. Our last one, Arn, Instagram, a wrestling historian, here with us every other week. Arn, how do you see Vader would be in WCW with the NWO around? That would have been something.
It would have been one of those conflicts that I don't know how it's going to end. And those are always interesting.
They didn't have many of those. That would have been cool.
That would have been you talk about evening the odds up.
Having him on the WCW.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Man, this has been great. You guys, Stardog said this was an awesome story that you shared about Paul and others. And there's so many people now as I just scroll back through. Brian Harems is here. And Ryan, great to see you. And so many of our listeners that are here with us each and every time we do a show. I know I can't get to all your questions. Craig Smith, great to see you too. Keith Morrison, Coach Keith Morrison, miss you, buddy. Dickie Foster, Blair Hathaway. Sorry if I miss your names. Chris Orlando, many of you here. Guys, this has been a great show, and we can't thank you enough for supporting this show. Remember, Tuesday, January 28th. Be here. We're working on a special guest. If not, the two of us will still be here, and it'll be special. But we're really trying to do something fun that night. So make sure that you hear for that. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to break 50,000 this year. We think we can do it in the next month or so. So please do that. And we appreciate it, man. Arn, I'm having a lot of fun with you already. It's going to be a good year, 2025, my friend.
Love you, my man. Appreciate you guys.
Love you too, buddy. On behalf of Arn Anderson, this is Paul Bromwell, and we'll see you on the 28th right here on Arn.